Good morning, 7th grade! I got you. I changed it. Alright, we're going to be on page 56 of our roots book, so get there. We are doing equa, meaning equal. Very exciting stuff. Have your pen or pencil ready. And let's start here at the top. If you're looking for a climate that's equally pleasant in summer and winter, you're looking for an equable climate. If you're eager for spring, you're waiting for the spring equinox, when days and nights are equal. If you want a fair settlement of a legal case, you want an equitable settlement. And if you can remain equally calm and composed under pleasant or unpleasant circumstances, you're able to maintain your equanimity. Whew, that sounds awesome. Let's start with our very first word. So our first word's equable. It means equal at all times and unvarying. I like the sentence here. Hawaii has an equable climate, equally pleasant in summer and winter, which is super true. And if you look here, you can see the lovely coast of one of the Hawaiian islands and all that beautiful blue ocean and just a smattering of clouds. It's so gorgeous, right? This is an adjective. Be aware. All right, our next word is equanimity. It comes from the roots equa meaning equal and anim meaning mind. So equal mind, and that actually fits perfectly with the meaning we use today for it, which is evenness of mind or temper and composure. So someone who has equanimity is very even keel. They don't get upset about stuff. They're not going to be overly dramatic about things, okay? So let's take a look. The sentence is, no matter what happened, she always maintained her equanimity, right? So she was very even keel. She was calm, cool, and collected. She was always composed. Take a look over here. This is Oscar Wilde. He's one of my favorite authors. He was a prolific writer. He was very, very humorous. He liked to play with words and kind of make fun of society in a kind, mostly kind way. He wrote one of my favorite plays, The Importance of Being Earnest, which is really entertaining. And he used to say that philosophy teaches us to bear with equanimity the misfortunes of others, which is funny because if we're bearing others people's misfortune with equanimity, that doesn't say anything about how we bear our own misfortune, right? So he was kind of joking that we're really good at dealing with other people's problems, but not necessarily with our own. And that philosophy is really good at helping us with that, right? All right, equate. To represent as equal. Hopefully you can remember this, right? The equal sign. Some people equate money with happiness. She looks pretty happy, doesn't she? So equanimity was a noun. Equate is a verb, so it's an action word. Next is equator. A line equally distant at all points from the north and south poles. Hopefully you've heard of this before, right? In case you haven't, this is not an actual line that exists that someone drew on the planet Earth. It is, however, an imaginary line that we use to help us with latitude and longitude, right? So let's look at the sentence. The equator runs through the country Ecuador, which is how the country got its name. It's pretty clever, right? They named their country after the fact that the equator runs through it. Kind of like that. Next is equilateral. From the roots equa meaning equal and lateral meaning side, so equal sides. That's easy to remember. If you know the roots, you can figure out what this word means. Having equal sides, and you can see here's an equilateral triangle. And here's another one. A lot of signs that we see on the road, yield signs and that kind of thing, are equilateral triangles. This one is letting you know that cows could cross the road there, which I thought was far more entertaining than a yield sign. Equilibrium. From the roots equa meaning equal and liber meaning balance. Again, if you can remember what these roots mean, you can figure out what this word means, right? Equa and liber, right there, equal balance. If you have equilibrium, you have a state of balance. So right here you see these cards all stacked up. Anytime you're doing that, when you're trying to build a house of cards, you have to maintain the equilibrium. Find each card's equilibrium before you move on to the next. Otherwise, the whole thing comes tumbling down, right? So equilibrium. Our sentence, when the horse swerved, the boy lost his equilibrium and fell off. You'll notice it's a noun, so be aware of that. Equinox. This was mentioned in the beginning, right? From the roots equa meaning equal and nox meaning night. So equal night, not like the nights are equal, but equal night as in night is equal to the day. The time of year when the sun crosses the equator and day and night are of equal length. This year, the vernal or spring equinox falls on March 21st. I'm not sure if that's their correct date or not. I think that might just be their sentence, but we should check. So if you look here, it's the time of year when it's exactly right. It all lines up perfectly for the day and night to be of equal length. Nothing's tilted. The sun hits exactly right for the two times to be equal. Equitable is an adjective. It means reasonable, fair, and just. And this right here is the Greek goddess Themis. You'll see her sword and her scales. She was involved with judgment, so making sure that that things were fair and just. That's why she has the scales, so she can measure out and see what side would win in a case. Our sentence: they achieved an equitable settlement out of court. So that means that the two parties involved in the lawsuit found a way they could agree outside of a courtroom, so they didn't have to go let a judge or a jury decide it. They decided it on their own with their lawyers, and they felt like the settlement they came to was fair to everyone. It was reasonable for all. Equity. It's a noun, an ownership right to property. Because they paid so little on the mortgage, they had little equity in the house. So that sentence may seem a little odd. So here's a house made of money, right? What the sentence means is that if someone buys a house, they can get like a bank. They can take out a mortgage, and the bank really owns the house, and you pay the bank back over time. So what the sentence means is they hadn't paid very much of their mortgage back to the bank yet. So they didn't really own much of the property. They had little equity in the house because really who owned the house was the bank, right? Equivalent. From the roots equa, meaning equal, and val, meaning strength. So you need to make sure those two roots are highlighted. They weren't right here. I ran out of space. But of equal strength, and it doesn't necessarily mean like strength as in like hitting someone or how much you can pick up, but equal in value, force, or meaning, right? So these are all equivalents. One whole is equivalent to two halves put together, which is equivalent to 4 quarters put together, which is equivalent to 8/8 put together. All of them equal. And if you look, like 1/2 is equivalent to 2 quarters is equivalent to 4/8. The prize was equivalent to a month's wages. So it's saying that the prize that was given it was equal in value to 1 month's worth of pay. Equivocal, from the roots equa meaning equal and voc meaning voice. Now you'll see that the literal definition is here. We don't usually have those, but it says having equal voices. We don't really use the word that way, so I want you to skip over the literal definition in italics and go to the second one. Capable of 2 interpretations. So if things are equivocal, you can look at them. It could go either way. Let's look at the sentence. That'll help us understand the meaning. Her equivocal reply was so carefully worded that the members of each faction thought she favored them. So it sounds kind of like a politician, maybe, right? The person speaking said things in a way so it sounded like she agreed with both sides, and neither noticed that she could be agreeing with the other, right? They were like, oh, so she does agree with us. It can go either way. Equivocate, from the roots equa meaning equal and voc meaning voice. Again, so equivocal was the adjective, equivocate is the verb form. So this is the verb. To make a statement with 2 possible meanings in order to mislead. Whew. So the whole point here is misleading someone. This does not go with the core values. The candidate equivocated so much that it was impossible to tell where he stood on any issue, right? He's saying things in a way that no one can tell where he stands, so they won't make a judgment on him in that way, right? He's trying to make it seem like he agrees with everybody, but intentionally that he wants to mislead people. And our last word, inadequate, from the roots ad and equa, meaning 2 and equal. It is an adjective, and it means not equal to what is required and insufficient, right? So the word adequate would mean the opposite, equal and sufficient. Inadequate means it is not, because it has that in on the front, right? So let's take a look at this shirt. It sort of works for what we're doing, but I also thought it was funny and you might find it entertaining. So it says 1, social life, 2, good grades, 3, adequate sleep. Pick 2, welcome to college. So the joke here is that when you get to college, you can either have a social life and good grades, or a social life and adequate sleep, or good grades and adequate sleep. You can't have all 3. You have to pick 2. So if you're going to have a social life and you're going to make good grades, you're going to have inadequate sleep. Welcome to college, right? Those are all of our words and roots. I hope you highlighted and underlined as we went. You should have, let's see, what are our roots this week? Equa meaning equal, anim meaning mind, ladder meaning side, liber meaning balance, nox meaning night, veil meaning strength, voc meaning voice, and ad meaning to. Make sure you've highlighted, underlined, make sure you get your exercises done, and have the key done before the quiz. Best of luck, study hard.